Atif Saab, over to you now. And my question is actually now targeted towards the point that Basir just mentioned about the use of big data analytics, and also the eventual transition to AI-based and predictive solutions. So you did a lot of work in the organization that you were with before. So would you like to share some of your experiences and some of your thoughts and initiatives that you took with respect to how do you expect banks to be able to achieve that destination model, and how would you then leverage that destination model for use in terms of digital banking?
Thank you, Faraz. First of all, let me just thank the organizers for arranging this thing. I think it's a very topical subject, as we all know the direction that our industry is taking. But I think also thanks is due to the regulator, who has consistently been driving this process forward for the industry. And I think what we need to answer your question, just a little bit of a build-up. What in the financial services industry are we all about doing? Is essentially we're looking to transfer value to customers. So the earlier comment about the customer should be at the center of everything really encapsulates this thought, which is that we have to be transferring value. What do we typically do? And if most of my comments are focused on consumer or an SME, please allow me that because that's where this is more relevant and easy to explain. So banks have been asking or helping customers to save wisely, to spend wisely, and to invest wisely. And that was a human interaction through RMs and branches, which has evolved gradually to be supported by IT or other systems. Now, the scale has increased as well. The number of customers has increased, and the sophistication of transactions and the number of transactions has been increasing. And therefore, data has been generated in the banking system. Some of that data has been used effectively to provide better services as we go along. But there's a lot of data that has not been used and is still lying within institutions without really any of us having an idea of what to do with it. But as was discussed earlier, I think the demand from customers is moving to a level where they don't just want you to be providing pure, isolated financial advice to save wisely, spend wisely, and invest wisely, but they're looking to have this all contextualized in their lifestyle. So whatever else they're doing, whether it's buying music or having certain other spending habits and patterns, certain lifestyle preferences, those are things that increasingly customers are now looking to be incorporated in the decision making that comes from their trusted advisor, which is the banker. It's difficult to do that in a completely human interaction, and therefore technology has been taking over. But as technology has evolved, also it's been focused on processes and systems in the old traditional sense. So the focus was on the account and not necessarily on the customer. And so IT systems now have to evolve. And they've been slow to evolve in the context of old large banks, and that's why some of the Chinese players have leapfrogged old banks and given the customers what they want. Is that that understanding of what does the customer really say is understand what I want and make it easy for me. And that's what these Chinese companies, Alibaba, of course, Tencent, and some of the Western players have been able to do, using a simplified IT architecture, on cloud, agile development, etc., and they've been able to then convert that into solutions that are more relevant to people. So that data that they've been capturing is far greater, and they've used it in far more agile, systems. So that's something that banks need to recognize and move towards. The challenges there are, one, I think this understanding that what can data do. So it's a mindset issue. It's really a human capital issue. Number one, I think most industries, and particularly services industries like ourselves, every solution comes from the quality of human capital. And that's something that we've got to be investing in. And I'm glad that here we see lots of millennials and probably not many baby boomers, which is a good start. This is a new kind of thinking. It's a new way of approaching problems that probably doesn't come easy to baby boomers, comes very much easier to millennials and of course now to digital natives. So human capital needs to be taken to that level. So in the data context, what to do with data, I think we should not be hiring traditional bankers or the profile of traditional bankers. We should be looking at mathematicians and statisticians,
data scientists,
and take that risk and let them do what they want to do with the data and come up with solutions. So that's the first thing. The other thing for banks to recognize is that there is a lot of data they already have. It's siloed, it's in different pockets, and we don't know it's there, and we don't know how to connect it. Plus, there is a hell of a lot of data which is still in paper format. Is there an effort going on to convert that data over time? It may be, worthwhile, or in some cases not worthwhile, but certainly there should be an effort to see what can you do with the data that you already have. So if you have that strategy in place, then you have to figure out, okay, the contextualization of the customer's solutions with their own lifestyle. How do I get more data about the customer which may not be usually provided to banks? So that's where you have to reach out to social feeds, and you have to reach out to telco companies, or you have to reach out to everything else that the customer does and interacts with other businesses. So how do you do that? There needs to be a strategy. Not just one institution can't do it. You have to have cross-industry understanding that this is going to create value. So actually the transfer of value is really dependent on transfer of data. So how do you transfer data from the various sources and bring it into a common pool where you can actually analyze, test it, and then provide the right services going forward? I think that's something that needs to be. Then of course the IT challenges behind that are immense. Where do you store that data? Do we have the capacity to store such data? Do we have the ability to combine the different platforms of data? And then of course the data analysis. Again, the scientists, the mathematicians that we need, that's where they'll be able to add greatest value. And perhaps the last comment I'll leave you with right now is that everything else has become quite standard and common. Branches look and feel the same. Most touch points look and feel the same. Everybody is beginning to have mobile applications, of course, ATMs, call centers, etc. So the competitive advantage is no longer how much you spend on your physical infrastructure. Where is the outperformance going to come from, or is coming from, is in the quality of decisions that you make. And always the quality of a decision, a high quality decision that's made frequently and is followed through faithfully and consistently will give you outperformance.
Thank you very much.
And that depends on the kind of data and the analysis that you do.
Thanks a lot, Atif, for elaborate response.